So my friends, I got to do part two here to review for your quiz. Anyways, so starting out for part two, we're at the War of 1812. Causes of the War of 1812. Impressment, obviously, the passing of the Embargo Act, which is going to limit trade with England and France. It's really going to upset the New England farmers. We're also our farmers, the New England traders. Obviously, other reasons we're upset. The English are not really leaving us alone or respecting us. They're giving guns to the Native Americans in the western half of the United States, which is going to upset us. And basically, just feeling general disrespect from England as a whole is going to be big sparks of the War of 1812. Anyways, you have war hawks calling for the war like John C. Calhoun and Henry Clay. The war, details that happened during it is not incredibly significant for you to know, but there are a couple things. I would say the burning of the White House is a big deal once the British start taking this seriously. Again, they were distracted fighting a small man from France, so they had some things to focus on. After that, the other thing you need to know about the War of 1812 is the Battle of New Orleans, where Andrew Jackson rises to like American fame and becomes this sort of American folk hero. Moving on, the War of 1812 has a lot of outcomes that are important. First of all, it sparks massive amounts of national pride. Things like the Star Spangled Banner are written in the War of 1812. People no longer identify by their states, they identify as like an American. That's a big deal. We can also see that in the America system. They named it the America system for a reason. They are trying to play on the national pride that's occurring. So, anyways, the U.S. feels like they gain international respect. The America system is passed, which sparks the market revolution, which is governments, states, and businesses all working together to build canals, railroads, lay telegraph lines, which is really going to improve the trade in the United States itself and make us an economic powerhouse. Really utilize that Mississippi River that we got in the Louisiana Purchase. Connect everything to there, and it's much easier to trade not only out into the Atlantic Ocean, but also in between states as well. So that's kind of a big deal. We don't need to go through all the social, political, economic, tech changes of the market revolution because you made posters on them and we went through them in a packet. So hopefully you got a pretty good understanding. But if I had to break that down pretty quick, I would say, big social changes, spark of the women's rights movement, as well as the Second Great Awakening is quite a big deal. People no longer going to farms to work; they go to work, which is you can thank them for the workday, unless you want to be farmers, of course. But anyways, the market revolution also obviously has economic impacts and makes the United States a much more connected economy and much wealthier. It also does force the South into dependency in the North. It leads to sectional tensions between the two. The South getting the cotton gin made by Eli Whitney, good extra credit question possibility. Um, is going to become much more dependent on slave labor because it becomes much more profitable because of the cotton gin. Anyways, the North is also able to industrialize, have higher levels of population, and better transportation between, which is going to be a huge advantage in the Civil War. So it does lead to those sectional tensions we talked about. Moving on past the market revolution, we move into the presidency of James Monroe. The really one significant thing you need to know about Monroe, other than continuing market revolution policies, is the Monroe Doctrine, basically a document that says that the United States is going to control the Western Hemisphere, and any European influence will be seen as hostile towards the United States. So that's a pretty bold thing for the U.S. to claim at that point, mostly because we're not that strong of a country, but we're riding high on the War of 1812 at that point. Anyways, that Monroe Doctrine is written by John Quincy Adams, who eventually does become president of the United States in this weird election with Andrew Jackson, where Jackson gets some more electoral college votes, but not enough to win. So the House of Representatives declares John Quincy Adams the winner. It's going to be a whole thing we talk about when we get into Jacksonian America. But John Quincy Adams has some really interesting ideas, like he's morally opposed to slavery, which historians now go back and give him a lot of credit for in the time period. He also wants to continue, building national roads and stuff. So, pretty interesting guy. But he doesn't get a lot of credit as president because he's basically voted in when everybody else wanted Andrew Jackson to be president, so nobody votes for his policies. But he did write the Monroe Doctrine, and he's probably the best Secretary of State we've ever had. Anyways, if you have any questions for your quiz, please let me know. Hopefully these videos help.